Golf season, Nikolai.
Golf season is here. You know what's even better than golf season coming?
Good till canceled. Good till canceled.
It's been too long.
Everybody listening, watching, however you're consuming, if you can't tell, I'm actually really excited about this. Nick, I hope you are too. This came about of just a text last week. Let's start this thing up again.
We have to do it.
All right, let's do it. Let's bang through it. Let's chat for a little bit and see what's on your mind. I'll share some things that are on my mind. We'll have some fun. We'll go in a few different directions. So where do you want to start?
I mean, there's a million things that we can talk about, but we are at the pinnacle, I think, of the sports world right now.
You're
right?
kicking us off with the NBA.
I'm not even going NBA right now. We're going to save that. That's later in the year. But it's the alpha and the omega, right? You have the most powerful sports franchise in the world or organization in the world, the NFL having their Super Bowl. And about simultaneously, pitchers and catchers report next week for spring training to start. So you probably have the best marketing organization in the world in the NFL and maybe one of the worst marketing organizations in the world in Major League Baseball. I mean, what a complete paradox between how they've gone about it over the past 20 years. So the Dodgers are
the NHL might have something to say about
that. I don't understand hockey, so I don't get a vote there. Would you say hockey is more towards the good end or the bad end?
The bad end. The fact that you don't understand hockey is a problem.
And my business partner Jeff, he's a rabid hockey fan. The boys play, travel hockey all the time, but it's something that as an outsider who didn't grow up playing or watching it's so foreign to me that I can't consume the product.
That's a problem. I mean, I would argue that American professional soccer has taken over as the number 4 sport in this country.
If you had to watch a sporting event and your two choices were to watch, I guess it's MLS, to watch an MLS soccer game or to watch an NHL game, what would you choose?
NHL, no question, hands down. I played the sport. I understand it. I'm from Vermont. I used to go to Canadians games all the time. What I'm getting at is MLS does a better job of staying top of mind and in front of me of what the hell's going on. They care more. Hockey gets, how are we even on this tangent? We brought this podcast back. 2 years go by. We're 4 minutes in deep into hockey.
I did not have this on my bingo card this morning to be talking.
This is how it gets canceled. Good till canceled.
Yeah, and we're done.
Look, here's the thing. Hockey is a kind of a funky thing. They're almost like, if you don't like us, screw you. And they almost take that approach, in my opinion, with the league, their fans. Like, they love their fans, but like they don't want to grow the fan base. It's bizarre.
And I've been to a couple of minor league hockey games and I found them very enjoyable. I mean, in college, we had a minor league hockey team that was nearby and it was cheap and it was something that you could do and it was a lot of fun. I've tried to watch it on TV a couple of times, but due to the speed of the game, I can't even follow where the silly puck is.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a challenge, but if given the choice between the two, I'm going to side on Team Corey. I'm taking hockey all the way over sitting through a soccer game or having to consume that. So I want to stay on baseball for a second, Corey, because I know you're a Phillies fan. They report February 14th in Clearwater. I want to know what your favorite baseball movie of all time is.
Oh boy, I'm going to go a little different direction. I mean, there's so many great ones. This is one that tugged at my heartstrings, believe it or not. Got me in the feels. And I don't know if you've seen it with Keanu Reeves, Hardball.
That was good.
Yeah, that was one that I enjoyed. And that's one that probably people wouldn't think of, but God, I don't know. You go to Sandlot, The Natural. I mean, so many good ones.
There's like 5 amazing, like 10 out of 10 type baseball movies.
Who's the one with it's for my movie lovers out there? This is crazy. I can't even think of his name. Who co-starred in Shawshank? Tim
Robbins.
What was the one he did? The baseball movie he did?
I can't even think of one that he did.
Hang on. Bill Durham. Is that Bull Durham? Is that what he was in that? Yes.
Oh, yeah. He's the pitcher. He's
Yes.
the pitcher, one of the pitcher in Bull Durham. Yeah.
Yeah. So many. What about you?
So here's a true confession. Huge baseball fan, but I have never seen the entire movie Bull Durham. I have only seen clips and pieces of it on television. I've never sat down and watched the whole thing before.
Violation. That's just a stone cold violation.
So I think as a financial advisor, the default answer is Moneyball. But the one that always grabs me, and it grabbed me the first time I ever watched it, was For Love of the Game. I know it's not critically acclaimed, but I just love that that movie. I love that Vin Scully is kind of like the soundtrack of that movie. And he has the great line, in the cathedral that is Yankee Stadium, tonight belongs to a chapel. It's just really, really an A-list movie for me.
Moneyball's fantastic. That one slipped my mind a little bit. I for some reason went
Right.
back
Is
and
it even a baseball movie, right? It's kind of like a
no,
business.
it's no, it's a baseball movie.
Yeah.
Got to stick here for a moment because now you've piqued my curiosity. How many other of the great movies have you not seen? Like, have you seen The Natural?
I have seen The Natural. Yeah.
You've
And that's
obviously
awesome.
seen Field of Dreams.
Seen Field of Dreams, love Field of Dreams.
Okay, so is Bull Durham the one that he's Sandlot, obviously, right?
Love Sandlot. Yeah.
Which for everyone with young kids out there, you think it's good for the kids until you put it on and realize that we went off script a little bit in the early 90s with some of those movies. Like both my kids are like, why is he trying to kiss the lifeguard?
And then all of, the Major League series is really, really fun, right? I mean, there's some great moments in those Major League movies.
Even the kids ones, man. Like I watched The Rookie, right?
Angels in
Great.
the Outfield.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, the
Ice,
graphics
the
don't
whole
hold up.
scene with the icy hot.
Yeah.
Daniel Stern. That's good.
Are baseball movies the only ones that really like work on the big screen?
That's a great question. I think there's something about baseball, unlike hockey, that more people can relate to in some capacity because I think that there's more people who played, Little League or Cal Ripken baseball to some level growing up that maybe never have touched a hockey puck before. So I think there is some natural element of familiarity to the sport, which makes it more like acceptable. But there's been some really good basketball movies made, and I think, and the name escapes me, the 76ers, Adam Sandler, Anthony Edwards, is it The Hustle?
Hustle, yep.
Hustle. Like I thought that movie was super underrated. I love that movie.
I think we're getting to an obvious point here, which as I'm thinking this through, it's really any of the sports movies that don't focus on the sport.
It's the story.
Yeah. Once they try to recreate the sport, you're like, this is stupid.
Which is kind of funny because what you do every day is trying to get advisors to tell stories. Like that's a script that works, right?
That's a segue, if you will. You got more you got more on the sports front. Let's get out of the movie thing real quick. I want to bring it back. You said this is the time of year. Like you were dying last weekend. We didn't have football, and you've got JUCO coming up, so that's exciting. The I used to be so big into college basketball, so March was always really fun. I've really lost my way with it, as I've shared with you in the past. The transfer portal, I think the lack of knowing where good players are has really killed me in that regard. But spring training, the Masters and golf starting up is always exciting for me. It's in conjunction with the NCAA tournament. The NBA is kind of starts to come into form a little bit in April and May. So yes, for me, this is arguably one of the better sports times of the year, the spring. It's also, I don't know if psychologically, me seeing like grass turning green and like being able to open the windows again and like enjoy the world is
Just
probably
having
part
some
of it too.
sun, just having some sun in your life, right?
Yeah, like that's probably part of it.
And to me, the NBA season doesn't really start until like the NCAA basketball season ends, until after the Masters. And to me, the most enjoyable part of the NBA season, bar none, is really there's two events for me that I'm going to tune into. I'm going to watch the All-Star Weekend because I can't help it. It reminds me of my youth. And no matter how much the NBA is trying to kill this slam dunk competition, I've still watched it every year since 1988. And I will continue to do so as long as I'm possibly capable of doing so. I will watch it. No matter how bad it gets, I'm going to continue to watch it just in case there's that amazing moment that just completely takes your breath away, like I don't think happens anywhere else in sports. And then the NBA playoffs are terrific. I think it's maybe the greatest single product in all of sports because you finally get these guys playing at a super competitive level where they're all pulling in the same direction and trying to win. And there's no load management in the playoffs.
You could argue all the playoffs are really awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing we get robbed in the NFL is that it's any given Sunday, so you don't necessarily get the best team moving on, which is kind of a bummer in some regards. And save me from anyone messaging me of arguing that. That's fine. I just feel like any given Sunday is a real thing, and if a team catches a bad weekend, then they're out. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, even the NHL playoffs, like so exciting. MLB is just tense. You got 3 hours of just stress. It's like a 2-1 game. You're stressed out for 3 hours. But the NBA, you're right. Those guys finally, and I'm not blaming them. Like, but it's like it doesn't matter till then.
It doesn't. And that's where all the eyes are on. I mean, they get something like 2/3 of their viewership is for the entire season is during the playoffs. You have a beautiful mind when it comes to marketing. And I think, coming up the Super Bowl is like the one day spectacle for advertising and marketing in the United States. And last year, the ad that I remember was the floating QR
QR.
code. And I was thinking about it last night and I didn't Google it. And I was thinking to myself, who even ran that ad?
Coinbase.
Okay. So it's like, how many people even remember that? But it was an amazing ad just to watch that QR code bouncing around your screen like you used to see your Windows screensaver doing in 1992. So my question for you, if some magical genie came out and granted a random financial advisor a free 30-second ad during the Super Bowl, what would you do with that time?
This is no question. I love this. I would literally splice together a couple clips of them engaging with a client or in an interview like this, answering real questions. And I wouldn't overproduce it. And I would make it, the subtext very clear. And I would drive home the three most common things to the people you want to attract.
So
And I think
simple,
you'd
right?
you'd hit a home run with it.
If anyone is opening to granting us a 30-second spot and just gifting us a $15 million gift, let us know. We'd love to brainstorm on that.
I don't think you'd know what to do with. You wouldn't be ready.
It would wreck your business,
Yeah,
right?
you'd be ruined. But like if we properly splice together 12 seconds or 10-second clips of, answering the direct question for the 42-year-old, the 55-year-old, the 61-year-old, you've hit the three demos there and you'd probably attract a lot of attention.
Yeah. So you recently told me that you had watched the movie Dumb Money.
Yes.
And I finally watched it because it finally came to Netflix. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it would. This is also a movie that, a lot of critics bashed for a number of reasons. You liked the movie, correct?
I did. I want to pause you real quick and ask you why you didn't think you'd like it.
Some of the Wall Street movies I don't really enjoy. I didn't know a lot about the story going in, to be completely honest, just because I was so removed from the whole GameStop craze and I don't watch the CNBCs or the news shows of the world. But I found it much more enjoyable and relatable than I had expected.
What parts of it, like, so when you said I didn't think I would like it, where my mind goes is, okay, this is an advisor who's, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying I could see advisors taking this not necessarily pompous but like arrogant approach of like, I can't stand that people got involved in this. I hate the behavior, stonks, the whole thing. They make a mockery of what we're trying to do here. Like that's where my mind goes. It's like, this is probably why an advisor wouldn't like this movie.
Yeah, and probably I just didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. It was the unknown of it. I think I think there's this kind of like this unifying force that I think most Americans would agree to is like everyone loves to root against Wall Street, right? Whatever Wall Street means, if that's hedge funds or private equity, but nobody really wanted to see Ken Griffin with $400 billion, get wealthier. And I think there's a big difference between what happens on quote unquote Wall Street versus what your average financial planner is dealing with is considerably different. The one thing that really stuck out to me in the movie, and there was almost like a thread that kind of tied it together to me, like the movie Blow, was the older generations always had this like wise counsel that most of the younger generation ignored. And except for one, there was only one person that they showed who sold some of his stock, and that was the GameStop employee who took that counsel from his parents. So as hard as it is sometimes to listen, to parents or people who have some wisdom, I mean, I think it's a great reminder not to discount people who have some real wisdom and experience around you. And when people do kind of catch lightning in a bottle, like when you win the game, like it's not admitting defeat to take chips off the table.
I love that. I think you guys, you specifically in your business, and we've talked about this before, if we could find a way to articulate it, could win a lot of business or get a lot of people off the sidelines, a lot of great people off the sidelines who need your help, but are afraid of being hand slapped, handcuffed, punished, right? There are a lot of folks that are really great people that make really great money, that have terrific families that need the help of a financial advisor, but they might be afraid to air out that they have thousands of dollars of sports cards or have taken some bets on crypto and that you're going to laugh in their face at, or
Right.
that they do like going on their little mini honeymoons with their family to, the Bahamas or Cancun and spending 10 grand. And they don't want you to tell them they can't do that anymore. Or they do like their Mercedes. And yes, they can't afford it, but they don't want you to tell them that their $1,200 payment's ridiculous. And like, there's a way, I think the connotation from you guys, not you, but the connotation to general people is that you might judge folks based on their past behavior or current behavior, and people might not be ready for that. And I think what holds people back is they wait to get themselves cleaned up in the background before they call you.
Yeah, it's like, why haven't I gone to the doctor in 5 years, right? Well, I'm afraid that maybe I do blood work and something bad comes back in the blood work, right? So I don't do anything and I carry on just living my life. I'd rather be, maybe my blood work comes back and the doctor tells me how great everything is and it's reassuring and it removes anxiety from my life. But yeah, there is that unknown. Like, I don't know what the financial advisor, I don't know what the financial planner is going to say. And the reality of it is I'm never going to demonize somebody for owning crypto or owning a Michael Jordan rookie card or collecting wine or whatever the case might be.
So let's get it on the record now. How do you handle that conversation with somebody who comes in, hey, Nick, my wife and I could use your help. We've been sitting on the sidelines, but here it is. Here's what we have. Some of this stuff's not perfect investments. We've lost money, but here we're airing it out. How do you answer the guy with the $20,000 Michael Jordan card and the, overweight 22% in Bitcoin?
Well, there's a reason why the rear view mirror is the smallest, and we're looking out the windshield, right? And so you don't demonize anybody from where they've been. You just try to look forward and make a plan for where they are, but most importantly, where they want to go, right? If you're trying to go from point A to point B, but you have no idea where point A, where you actually are, you have no idea where you need to go north, south, east, or west. And at the end of the day, whether it's a Michael Jordan rookie card or it's an S&P 500 index fund, at the end of the day, it's an asset, right? And you apply a growth rate to an asset to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And if you think that a Michael Jordan rookie card is going to appreciate at 12% per year, and we have a reasonable basis for that assumption, and you believe that you will liquidate that asset in the future to fund some sort of goal, then that's great. I don't care what you own. I don't care how you get there. I just want you to have a plan to get there. And I'm a big fan of the reverse budgeting. And I would think about, like, the first step in the process, right, is determine what you're trying to do, right? What are your dreams? What are your goals? And what's our time frame for getting there? And then let's figure out the best way to fund those things. So how much do we need to invest? What accounts are we investing those in? At the end of the day, what are we buying? And if we decide collectively that a diversified portfolio of MJ rookie cards is the way to go, I think that's really cool. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. So once you've kind of said, all right, these are the dollars that we're going to allocate, the money that we have left, I really don't care what you do with it, right? If you've identified the things that are important to you and you've set dollars aside to do those things, and then you have $30,000 a year left in your budget, if it makes you happy to take multiple vacations or buy a nice car, that's great. But we also have to give people the reality check that if they want to retire in 10 or 15 years and their current lifestyle gives them a very, very low probability of funding that, then it's my job to tell them the truth about where they're at kind of on that map and let them make informed decisions. It's not my job to dictate what their dreams and goals are, but I can just kind of tell them where they are and the probability of if they're going to get to where they want to go on time.
I really love that. I hope we can, folks who don't know, I work closely with you and know my plan. I hope that we can extract that message and communicate that to the folks that are on the sidelines, that do need help, that do want help, that just are holding themselves back until they get their ducks in a row. Because you saying that, right, I can already feel the sense of relief that this avatar we've created feels after they talk to you guys. It's like they come in, they're all strung up and like stressed out. They just are feeling the weight of the judgment that's about to be cast down on them. And then you guys let them exhale and it's like, it's okay. Like, cool. Like, I love baseball cards too. Like, all right, I might not, the crypto thing, like it's come and gone, like, or the past, right? Like we can still be there. We just might need to think about how, I'm not trying to take your vacations away. Like, I'm not trying to take your car away.
Yeah.
Let's just,
I love vacations. Like, I need vacations. Like, it's something that I have to have with three young kids in the house and working from home 90% of the time. Like, there was a time when I didn't need vacations, but I promise you, I need vacations today. And I had a wonderful conversation with a young lady yesterday who was referred to me by one of her close friends who's a client. And she said to me something I've never heard before. First of all, she said, I've been wanting to have this conversation for 2 years, which is incredible because, right, there's probably some head trash involved. There's probably a little bit of maybe I don't want the reality check. Maybe I really don't want to tell someone how much I'm spending on a car, whatever. But then what really struck me was her next phrase is that I told my husband this year that I didn't need any presents for my birthday or for Christmas business, but all I wanted was a financial plan. Wow, that's crazy. But I think what we're seeing right now, we're in this great bull market, we're at all-time highs. The people who are raising their hand and saying like, hey, I'd love to talk with you, it's all like really personal financial planning stuff, right? Because the investment stuff is kind of taking care of itself right now. Like the rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
The people that are reaching out right now are like super passionate about having a plan, right? And there's a difference between having some investments and having a plan where everything is coordinated together. So the conversations that we're having with people are so refreshing as a financial planner, and honestly, it like really charges me up and invigorates me to do more work, to do better work, to have more conversations with people like her. It really brings a lot of meaning to what we do.
I love it. I just go back to, we've got to just find a way to communicate it, because I think people leave that meeting and I think they feel completely different than they thought they would. I bet you they get in the car, or if they're meeting virtually, they turn the computer off and they feel like, holy shit, like, wow, like things are going to be good.
Yeah. I think, Dave Ramsey has had such a huge influence in our country with personal finance
Yeah.
that I think that there is this fear of that they're going to meet with a financial planner and they in their head, they don't think they're doing as well as their friends are, right? I mean, everybody thinks that way, right? I mean, that's like the one universal constant. Hey, I'm not doing as well as my neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm not doing as well as I should
Yeah.
be.
Did you see the car I swear they just bought a new car.
They got another new car.
Yeah.
They got another golden doodle. They must be doing great. But I think there's this feeling that I'm going to Dave Ramsey them, and 45 minutes after we talk, their credit cards are going to be cut up, and they're going to be living on 6 envelopes stacked with $10 bills, and they're only going to be able to eat ramen noodles for the next 18 months. Well, this is about making positive changes in your life, both financially and spiritually and emotionally. And I'm not trying to like break anybody down or destroy someone, but I think his message is so loud, and he's preached for so long about his narrative on how to do things, that I do think there is a large percentage of people who are afraid to reach out for help because they're not ready for that sort of draconian change to their lifestyle. So sports cards, Bitcoin, you got a wine collection, you collect classic cars, you like taking vacations. Nothing wrong with any of that, right? Probably like most things in life, moderation is good.
We have to have outlets, right? As human beings, you need things to take your mind off of other things, and you got to do something, right? Like my wife would kill me if she hears this. Her outlet might be the Amazon button,
Yeah,
for all I know.
sure.
What it feels like.
No, I mean, I agree, and I know all my Amazon people really well. I know my UPS drivers really well. I spend more time with some of the Amazon and UPS folks than I do with close members of our family. So yeah, I completely get that. But everything in moderation, right? The goals first. How do we fund the goals, and then the dollars that are left over, like you have two choices, right? You either throw that into the pot to accelerate the goals to get somewhere quicker, or you do what 90% of the people do that we talk to is you do things to improve the quality of your life. Do you invest in things that get you more time back, which is an incredible resource? Do you do things that bring you together as a family? We certainly encourage people to do that. The number one area where we encourage people to splurge in their own financial plan is to invest in their own health. And I've literally had to tell people you need to spend more money investing in your health. So if you like to play golf, to make it a better experience, go get fitted for new clubs, right? Go get the unlimited yoga membership, get the new pair of walking shoes, like whatever it is. Like invest in your health today before it becomes an expense at some point in the future.
They must gobble that permission up.
They love it. Yeah. But see, that it's just changing the mindset to where spending money is no longer a sin, right? They have permission to go out and invest in certain things. And investing in yourself is a huge reward.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question as we just start going through this and bringing this podcast back, and I'm psyched about it. I really am. I was looking forward to it last night. I have to tell you to stop texting me because you step on the conversation. Who's this podcast for? Is it for FAs? Is it for potential clients? Is it for current clients? Is it for folks that I should be marketing people? Like, who's it for?
I think there's a little bit of something for everybody. If you like sports, if you like financial markets, if you like movies, I mean, I think we hit on all of those things.
Cool. Yeah, I was
Where
just
do
curious
we need
thinking
do we
about
need
that.
do we need to niche down?
No, I think that's the beauty of what this is. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Cool, move on. But I was wondering, like, am I a financial advisor watching this? Am I someone who's trying to be better at marketing watching this? Am I a client watching this? Like, who am I as the audience? So I thought that was interesting.
Probably something we need to spend more time on. It
Hey,
always helps to start with the end in mind. Like, what is the goal?
you brought up Dave Ramsey, and I think this is a good, not necessarily segue, but add on to that. And I don't want to get too far down the Dave Ramsey rabbit hole, but I did watch some videos recently that I really enjoyed, and I haven't poked into him too deep over my career, but I know, based on what I watched recently, I really liked his message. What are your thoughts on Tony Robbins?
I don't know him very well, to be honest with you. I've seen some of his stuff. It seems inspirational. He seems like he's a really happy guy, very passionate about what he does.
Okay, cool. That's totally a fair answer.
He doesn't come up on my Instagram when I scroll through, so I don't know.
Maybe I'll send you a reel just to trigger it.
Yeah, you watch one, it's over. Like you
Yeah.
watch one Jocko video, and before you know it, your feed is like 90% Jocko and former Navy SEAL. So like my Instagram reel, is it reel or stories? Whatever Instagram is that feeds me the short videos. I love that. I
Yeah.
can't get enough of it. My algo is locked in on Jocko related content and Australian Shepherds. It's amazing.
This is a great reminder for folks listening that the algo is what you make it, right? It's really the algorithm is a blank slate until you start poking around and then they start feeding you what you touch and view.
And it's really, really enjoyable. And it's almost too enjoyable because I've literally had to set a timer on when I go to bed now because it's easy for me to watch all this inspirational Jocko type stuff, to see some happy Australian Shepherds, which I love, and all this health and wellness stuff. And it's just like all of my favorite things. And you get a random like basketball card related thing going on. You're like, whoa, head explodes. And what you thought was 3 minutes of scrolling turns into 30 minutes in the blink of an eye. But yeah, that Instagram algo seems really, really locked in compared to what you see on LinkedIn every day, which seems to be in just a death spiral.
I'm almost speechless. I literally, I think my first order of business, if they hired me, Corey, you're the new CEO of LinkedIn. First order of business would be I would just go poach people at Meta
Yeah.
and I would pull them into a room and be like, how did you guys approach this? Walk me through your thinking. Let's strategize a plan here, and you guys are going to implement it. And the rest of these Microsoft folks who've botched this whole thing are getting the hell out of here.
And remember, LinkedIn had the short videos
They had everything, and you
and they killed
remember
it.
coming out of COVID, there was this conversation like literally every 2 days about like this changed, that changed, why does it do, and then like it's almost literally like they played with this little dial every morning. No one could figure out what the hell was going on.
It's almost like maybe Facebook and Instagram, like they got together and they said, we need you to apply for positions at LinkedIn and we want you to burn it down from the inside.
Or they
Because
sent them all their terrible employees. Look, you're not
there's
fired, you just have to go work here.
right. We don't, yeah, we're not laying you off. We're just offering you an alternative path.
Yeah, this is the only other place you can stay in social media.
But it's hard to imagine how bad a job they've really done on that platform. Like it's tough to spend time there.
It will go down as a great flop because I think they're gonna or I'll put it this way, there's an opportunity that one of the other platforms, Instagram hyphen business, right? Like that's all they have to do is just create a sub account for you. And
Now,
like
so one of the major trends that I wanted to ask you about, and it goes across all platforms, so it's not channel specific, but there is this growing trend of financial advisors now advising other financial advisors as if they are somehow a professional marketer. What do you think about this trend and why is it happening?
I have many thoughts here.
Any of which you want to say publicly?
Yeah, I know I'm an open book. I don't care. I'm not gonna, air anyone's specific dirty laundry out. There's a couple elements that I think about. One, what's the name of the generation above ours? X?
Seems logical.
What's the X or Y, whatever the generation is of 45 to 55-year-olds. What I've seen from that group who've had a lot of success on LinkedIn specifically, if we stick on that platform, just for the context of this example, they came up late in social media. They got on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. They got on there later than the millennial generation, and certainly later than the generation below us. And they've had many of them what they deem, and meteoric success on that platform. LinkedIn doesn't really have influencers, but they have like micro influencers where people get 15,000, 30,000 followers, and then anything they put out, is gets thousands of views and hundreds of engagements. And that's for LinkedIn, that's kind of an influencer, right? What I see is those folks gobbling that up as their time to shine in this limelight of social media. And I'm not necessarily blaming them for that. They came up, they watched all the other platforms kind of have their moment and they missed it. And they joined LinkedIn and have kind of captured something similar to what happened on the other platforms a decade ago on LinkedIn, and they're running with it. And they're getting lost in this idea of what they came there in the first place for, in my opinion. They went there to grow their business, and now they're growing their audience. And now they're looking at it like, whoa, I might be able to monetize this audience. How could I do that? And then I have a saying that I share with my wife a lot. We talk about keep the main thing the main thing. I think people lose sight of that. And furthermore, there are folks that I think never had the main thing in the first place. That main thing never locked in, right? Like think of a ski boot or something that grabs and locks in. I don't think it ever locked in. Like they never actually created the main thing. And now this side hustle might tease them or be more fruitful than what they thought they were there for in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I always think about I think about the same way I think about financial advisors of some of these lead generation companies, right? If your advising business is so wildly successful, why would you want to take time away from that
Yeah.
to allocate that time to advising other advisors, right? Like if your business is thriving and you have a robust pipeline of people raising their hand to want to work with you, if that's true, why would you want to take time away from those prospects to grow your advisory business, which, oh, by the way, every client that you bring on creates a substantial 3x, 4x, 8x multiple on the value of your business. Why would you want to take time away from that to work with advisors?
So rhetorically, what you're saying is they don't actually have a business.
I think it's a mirage.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is. I think the beauty of this thing is we don't know.
Right.
I had a really good question come up to me the other day, which I really respected, and I thought I'd share it with you today, versus, offline. And the person wasn't being rude. They were literally asking me this question as a prospect, right? So anyone listening who knows, I'm a content creator. I am a consultant. I work with financial advisors and boutique firms to help them be better marketers, to fulfill their marketing needs, to challenge them, and to create content for them. So I had a prospect contact me and was like, "Hey, I've been following you for quite a while, keeping an eye on you. I love, he has an idea of some of the people I work with, love the stuff that they're putting out. What does it look like in working together?" So I walked him through it and he's like, "This is awesome." He's like, "Hey, I have to ask a question. Don't take it the wrong way." And he's like, "If you're so good at this and so good at marketing, how come like you don't have a lot of stuff coming out? Why aren't you doing more?" And it slapped me in the face, right? And I was like, "Because I'm so fucking busy with the other guys."
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't like, he's right though.
Yeah. But all your time and talents in your business, you're putting all of your time, talents, energies, efforts into growing other people's businesses, right?
Right. But from the outside looking in,
They don't understand that, right?
that
Yeah.
conversation could be taking place of like this dude sits here and talks about like all the great marketing and all the shit that we should be doing, that I should be doing, but like show me. You're not like, where are you doing it?
Right. That's why I say you're BASF. You don't make a lot of products and services we need. You make a lot of products and services we have better, right? You take everything that we do and think about, like the videos that I do are complete trash, the raw ones, right? And then I send them to you, you edit them up, you make the nice thumbnail. Like what I'm doing on my own is not good enough, couldn't be. But the way that you package everything up makes it to be a very, very consumable product that gets my clients talking about how great it is and referring their closest friends and family members to me and say, "Hey, Anna, you got to meet with Nick. It's super important that you have a conversation. He helped us do XYZ." Right. And those are the hard things, like we talked about earlier. Some things are really hard to quantify that story because what you're really doing is you're not shining the light on yourself. You're shining the light on me and the other advisors that you work with. So, I think the way that I would answer that question is, well, don't look at what I'm doing. Look at what the people that I'm working with are putting out. Look at these 8 brands that I'm building from the ground up. I mean, let's be honest, you're not exactly working with, the Brad Pitt of financial planning over here. And when we're doing, really good work that's moving the needle.
And I love that response, but it was, and I appreciate that. It's just, from the outside looking in, there's always maybe a little bit more to it. I do think there's a lot of people that have not kept the main thing, and I question if there ever was a main thing, if you want my 2 cents on it, right? Like, but that is what it is, right? Like, and I heard yesterday in a podcast I was listening to someone say like a really good piece of advice that I want to try to run with in a little bit more. Like, that's not any of my concern, right? Like, you and I have we see some of the stuff, and we're aware of some of the things that we see that might be, I don't think nefarious is the right word, but not off color either, just questionable. But at the same time, like, all right, you keep doing you, we're going to keep doing us. It's all good.
And we keep receipts.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot, some of the things that, maybe aren't working, but I know I have opinions on it, but, advisors coming to you today, for consulting or to do the full boat deal that you do, like, what are some of the advisor marketing trends that you're like super bullish on right now?
Couldn't be more bullish on newsletters. Couldn't. I literally, I know it's like the most boring thing to say. We went through 10 minutes here trashing LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is a slow, I mean, if there was a curve, I think we're on the downslide here, or
We're
the
in that trough,
downside.
baby. We are in that trough.
Right. Like, I don't think this isn't July of 2020, right? Like, we're not peaking. So I love the idea of newsletters. I love the idea of being able to take your audience where you need them and communicate with them on your terms. Big on YouTube. Like, I can't be more bullish on it. I know people get stuck on the, hey, my video's only got 56 views. My channel's only got 150 subscribers. Like, all right, like, you guys are like, stop worrying about the view count. Stop worrying about this. If you put out good content that tells the message consistent, like, this stuff's gonna work. So newsletters, YouTube, I do think consistently, LinkedIn for the folks with the audience that are still in corporate America, very bullish on it still, because what are your other options? Like, it's a feed that people will use. But my two right now are newsletters and YouTube, one, two, and then LinkedIn's third for me.
Yeah. And I think advisors get hung up so much on creating the videos and, how's it going to look? How am I going to come off? I would just say it's going to take some time on YouTube. And you can't get 5 years worth of experience unless you start, right? Like, at some point, you just have to start.
And I'll be real, like, I'll be honest with you. Some people's stuff is also crap. And if it's crap, and even if you put out the crap for 5 years, it's still crap and it never takes hold. So there's definitely an element of creativity and polish that you have to put on some of this stuff. Like, we can't ignore that. You can't just create a shit newsletter and expect it to work. Like, this stuff has to, there's a next level to it. So you're asking me the high level, where would I focus? That's where I'd focus. The
Right.
next level is, what do I put on there? And what do I do? And how do I do it? That's where,
That's
that's
the
where I
magic.
make, well, that's where I make my money, right? Like, I'm very proud of the newsletters that Know My Plan's putting out. And I know they're 95% you. I'm only there as a helper, but I'm very proud of what you guys have built with that. And I think you're just chipping away at the very bottom of what is a giant opportunity there. So,
And I,
uh,
we do a lot of like real stories in the newsletter, and we change the names, right? And every once in a while, we'll change we'll change some details here or there just to protect the anonymity of people, right? But now we're getting people who are coming to us and say, "Hey, would you tell our story in a newsletter?" Which I never thought would happen, right? You kind of think when you first started, like, well, I don't know if people are going to be comfortable if I share the stories. So, and when I would ask someone like, hey, Jane, this is like a really cool story. Would you mind if I shared it in the newsletter? Don't worry, I'll change the names and locations just to protect, your anonymity. Oh yeah, that'd be great. So now I have people coming to me and say, these newsletters are awesome. Could you write one about us? Which I wouldn't, a year ago, I would have never thought that would have happened.
well, think about what you're doing versus what the typical industry does, right? Like, anyone listening who hasn't subscribed to Dollars and Diagrams, please go to knowmyplan.com. I'm not on the Know My Plan payroll, but I'll pretend that I am. Knowmyplan.com, scroll to the bottom at the footer, join Dollars and Diagrams. It's a newsletter that Nick and his team put out every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And the team made a decision. You correct me if I'm wrong, but it was midsummer to transition the newsletter into a weekly format from bi-weekly, and to start to just kind of tell stories and share examples of how you help people instead of recapping the market. And as I continue to be long-winded on this description of this commercial here, I think it gives people something 1,500 words on a Saturday morning with their coffee to relate to, and then they move on with their day. But it makes you guys human, and that's what this industry misses. And I'm so friggin' sick of editing and helping other clients that are sending me this thing that they bought on said newsletter list,
Right.
or I got this from my back office. I'm like, yeah, you and 62,000 other people are sharing the same crap. That's why you have such success with it, because it's human.
Yeah. I mean, you can only be authentic if you're authentic, right? There's no shortcut to authenticity. You can try a lot of ways, but I enjoy writing. I enjoy telling the stories. I think it's a great way to help others. I think it's a great way to encourage others to reach out, or that, hey, I'm not alone. Other people are experiencing this too. I can relate to Mona, who's 53, who doesn't think that I'm ever going to be able to retire. And like you said, 1,500 words later, she found out that, you know what, I can retire. Maybe have to make some small tweaks, but it's doable. So I think there is hopefully there's a message of hope and the feeling of I'm not alone, and hey, I don't have to have $5 million to work with a financial advisor or
Well,
something.
it's the story of like the 10-year-old who trips on the fast break to, not there's no game on the line, but like they're excited, you coach kids basketball, like 10 years old, fast break, so excited, trips, balls out of bounds, going the other way. And then
Right.
like comes over to the bench crying, like, and instead of being like, I can't believe you fumbled over your own feet. What the hell's wrong with you? You had the 2 points, you had it. It's like, oh my God, like so awesome. You're having such a great game.
Yeah.
Like the steal to get the fast break was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's the building them back up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You can't draconian beat someone into the ground all the time into them becoming a client or wanting to get help, which is really ultimately, what we're so passionate about. Like, financially, if we never got another client, like we'd be okay, right? That'd be fine. But the reason why we do it is because we're super passionate about helping people, and we're scared to death of, if they don't get the advice and guidance from us, where might they get it? And that could cost them years of their life. It could cost them years of taking all of those wonderful vacations and being able to retire 5, 10 years earlier, because maybe they don't get advice. Maybe they get advice from the wrong sources. So, know my plan. We're doing really well, but we want to help more people for as long as we can. I have one closing question for
Plus it
you.
feels good, dude. Like
Feels great.
I
Yeah, it's
love like
amazing.
a new client that comes in that like has a really good business and a good heart, and they have nothing established, and like just getting them going. Like, and then you hear the success stories. It's fun.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, two amazing conversations yesterday with ideal clients that we're going to be able to work with for 3 decades, one of which hadn't taken a vacation in 4 years. You're talking like
Rough.
four kids in the house under preteen,
Hey,
taking a vacation in 4 years. And I told them, like, guys, you got the money, you're fine. Take the vacation. So they're doing a Disney cruise later this summer, and they had an architect come in to start home renovations to get the
good.
drawing started, right? So they had all this anxiety and angst about where they were financially, and where they thought they were was drastically different from where they actually were, because of this preconceived notions of where they should be, because of some CNBC article that they read 6 years ago, which is no longer relevant. So you don't know where you're at until you work with a trusted professional to figure out where you're at. What are you and the Keating family doing for Valentine's Day?
Zero. I mean, like I don't mean to crush
Anything
your
in the week leading up to it? Anything fun? Because I'll
I
tell you
don't
what,
mean
the
to crush
Nielsen
your
family.
romantic dreams here, big fella, but that is not. I mean, between swim lessons, basketball, and flag football starting, like my God, man, just give me a night off.
Oh, I've got a good one. I've got, what we're doing this year for the Valentine's Day
I'm
season.
sure it will be something that is a good one. Tell me.
Okay, so we're updating our financial planning documents,
Okay,
updating the guardians, some language in the trust. So that's awesome.
you
And
should make
then,
that a KMP holiday, by the way. Seriously, going forward, that's a reminder for everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. This is your annual reminder.
yeah. And then second, we are finalizing our long-term care applications. So, I mean, what says love more than updating your planning documents and making sure that you got long-term care in place?
When is Valentine's Day this year? What day of the week?
I believe it's Wednesday. It
Good.
is.
This is
I know it's Wednesday.
an ad hoc email 8 days from now goes out that from KMP, Happy Valentine's Day, and you regurgitate what you just said to me. Dead serious.
Estate planning, long-term care, all of it.
Happy Valentine's Day from your friends at KMP. What are you doing? What are you and your family doing this Valentine's Day? Question mark. I'll share with you what we're doing. And then hard stop, make Valentine's Day your annual reminder. Da 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 da. Done.
Love that. Dunsies.
Hopefully this podcast gets released before that. Some of you can who have been lucky
No,
enough to
no
listen
pressure. No
can
pressure,
copy.
Corey. Now we got to edit it up.
All right, brother. Is that it out the door?
I think that's it. It feels good to be back. A little rusty. 2 years since doing a GTC, but let's keep it rolling.
This is great. I've got three things I wanted to go over, and I only went over one of them. So I've already got 40 minutes for our next show to talk about.
We got ammunition, and I think if you edit this up just right, you'll be able to answer that question to the advisor. What kind of content are you putting out?
It was just I was like, okay, all right, young fella.
Looks like Good Till Cancelled is coming back now. Okay, I owe somebody a thank you card.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Coffee refill. On to the next one. Cheers. Glad to talk to you.
Sounds
Everybody,
good.
thank you
I'll
for
see you on the other
listening.
side, Corey.
Like, subscribe, go find the Dollars and Diagram newsletter. Make sure you add this podcast, do all the things. We love you. Talk soon.